A woman's heart stopped for 4 minutes. No pulse, no breathing. On the monitor, a flat line. When the doctors brought her back, she said something strange. She'd been floating near the ceiling. She watched them work on her body, and she wasn't scared. It was the calmest she had ever felt. Here's what got me. She isn't unusual. Thousands of people describe almost exactly the same thing. Different countries, different religions, different languages. A dark tunnel, a bright light, a feeling of peace. Why would strangers who never met describe the same place? I don't know what it means, but I'm good at looking for a long time. Look first, believe later. So let's look. I'll start with numbers, because in this subject, numbers lie more than anything else. First study, 2019, in a journal called Peer J. They surveyed 1,034 people across 35 countries. 106 of them said they'd been through something like this. That's about 1 in 10. But here's the honest note, and it matters. Those people weren't picked at random. They came to the survey themselves, online. And people with a story to tell show up to that more often. So, 1 in 10 people on Earth, you can't say that. You can say 1 in 10 of the people who were asked. Not the same thing. Second study. This one is serious. It's called Aware 2, run by Dr. Sam Parnia at NYU. 3 years. 567 patients in hospitals in the US and the UK. All of them had a cardiac arrest. All of them got CPR. About 20 out of every 100 survivors described a clear experience, not a blurry dream. A story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And now, the part that usually gets cut out of videos like this. I went looking for this number on purpose, because I didn't like it. Only 4 in 10 remembered anything at all, which means 6 in 10 remembered nothing whatsoever. Just a gap. One moment the ambulance, next moment a hospital bed. So this doesn't happen to everyone. It happens to some people. And nobody knows why those people. Okay, what do the ones who remember actually describe? The same short list, over and over. They look down at their own body. They move through a dark space toward a light. They meet someone. They see their life play back, fast. And nearly all of them use the same word for how it felt. Peaceful. One more thing. You'll need it in 2 minutes, so hold on to it. 2023, in the journal PNAS. Researchers at the University of Michigan recorded the brain activity of 4 dying patients at the moment their breathing support was switched off. In 2 of the 4, something happened that nobody expected. In the first 30 seconds after the machine came off, the brain produced a surge of what are called gamma waves. Do gamma waves sound complicated? They're not. Picture this. Your brain is a room full of people all talking at once. Gamma is when everyone in the room claps at exactly the same time. The brain at its most switched on, at the moment it's supposed to be switching off. And the surge wasn't just anywhere. It was in the back of the cortex, the region a lot of scientists think is essential for conscious experience. 2 out of 4. Not all of them. If it were simple, we could stop here. Dying brain, strange lights, done. But 3 things don't fit. 1. Not everyone gets the nice version. We're told these experiences are beautiful. Most of the time, they are. Not always. Estimates of how often it turns frightening are all over the place. Somewhere between 1 in 100 and 15 in 100. The range is that wide because people are far less willing to talk about the bad ones. And what they describe is emptiness. Being pulled somewhere they didn't want to go. Being completely alone. If this is the brain handing you a farewell gift, why does it hand some people a nightmare? 2. The timing problem. This is the hardest one to explain away. Some patients describe details from the room, what the doctors said, where people were standing, which machine they reached for, and they describe it from a stretch of time when by every instrument we have, the brain shouldn't have been recording memories at all. Okay, stop. This is exactly where honest gets swapped for exciting. And honestly, I nearly fell for it myself. People can hear things while unconscious, and the brain is extremely good at filling in holes, then handing you the filled-in version as if it were a real memory. That happens to us constantly, not just when we're dying. I went digging, and I'll say it straight. Most of these stories cannot be verified, but a small number have been checked carefully, and some of those still don't have a clean explanation. A small number, but not zero. 3. People come back different. This one is measurable, and this is the part that surprises me most. People who go through this very often stop being afraid of death. Not less afraid. They stop. Many of them change their whole life. They leave jobs, they leave marriages, they give money away. And years later, they still say it was the most real thing that ever happened to them. More real than this. More real than the room you're sitting in. Dreams don't work like that. You know your dreams were dreams. These people don't. I found 3 different ways to explain this, and I'll say it up front, none of them covers everything. This year, in 2026, a researcher named Kaish published a new idea in the journal Frontiers in Psychology. It's called the dying moment dream hypothesis. Big name, simple idea. Your brain spends its whole life receiving information from outside, eyes, ears, skin, constant delivery. When you're dying, the deliveries stop. So the brain does what it does at night. When the deliveries stop then, it turns inward. It builds a world out of what it already has. Your memories, your feelings, the faces you love. Put simply, it dreams. One last time. And remember that gamma surge? It was right where the conscious picture gets assembled. The pieces fit. Psychology asks a different question. Not what is it, but what is it for? There's a researcher in Belgium, Charlotte Marshall, at the University of Liège. She studies what happens in the mind when the body stops responding. And she suggests something that sounds wild at first, that this might be useful. Think about an animal caught by a predator. It goes limp. It stops struggling. Its body floods with chemicals that block pain. That's not the animal giving up. That's a built-in program. It switches itself on. The piece people describe might be that same program. The mind's last move. If you can't fight, stop suffering. And psychology adds a second idea, which would explain the differences between people. What you see may depend on what you're carrying. Your memories, your fears, the stories you grew up inside. Someone raised on angels meets an angel. Someone raised on nothing meets just light. Same machine, different material inside. But here I have to slow down and say it out loud. This part hasn't been tested. The author says so himself. A beautiful guess is still just a guess. And now, the part that surprised me most once I started digging. People were describing this long before there was a single instrument to measure it. Around 375 BC, Plato, The Republic, the final book. He tells the story of a soldier called was killed in battle. 12 days later, his body was placed on the funeral pyre. And he woke up and told them where he'd been. That's the first account of its kind written down in Western culture. It's 2,400 years old. 731 AD. The English monk Bede describes a man who died in the night and came back at dawn. Tibet. The Bardo Thodol describes stages after death, and one of them is a clear light. Ancient Egypt. The heart of the dead is placed on a scale against a feather. Tunnel. Light. Life review. Meeting. The same 4 things, on different continents, thousands of years before resuscitation existed. And the name itself, near-death experience, only appeared in 1975. A doctor called Raymond Moody came up with it. So the thing is, thousands of years old. Enough being polite. Two strongest arguments, straight at each other. For it being the brain. We found a mechanism. There's a surge of activity at the end, and it's in the exact region tied to conscious experience. Some anesthetic drugs produce very similar experiences on demand. Damage certain brain areas and people leave their bodies in a lab, on schedule. That isn't speculation. That's a machine we can partly operate. For it not being only the brain, nobody has explained the accurate details reported from a stretch of time when the brain should have been silent. And nobody has explained why this doesn't get forgotten. 30 years later, people say it was more real than their own kitchen, and their entire life rebuilt itself around it. Memories don't work like that. I rewrote this page 4 times, and every time I got stuck on the same thing. Even if we're completely right, even if a dying brain does all of it, a brain shutting down is a catastrophe. Cells without oxygen, systems failing one after another. And out of every state it could possibly produce on the way out, it produces the one people spend the next 30 years calling the calmest moment of their life. We still haven't explained why it's peace. I don't know what that is, and I'm not inventing a name for it today. But that's where I'm stuck. And I think it's the most interesting place in the whole story. So, something happens. It happens to some people, not all. It follows a pattern people were writing down before Plato, and it leaves them changed for the rest of their lives. We've found part of the machinery. We haven't found all of it. And the part we haven't found is the part I care about most. If you like pulling things apart like this, subscribe. I'm going to keep digging. And leave a like if you made it this far. It's the easiest way for me to tell whether this is worth making. Now I want to hear from you. If you've been through something like this, or someone close to you has, tell me in the comments. Just what happened, in your own words. I read them, all of them. And if you want to keep going, the next question is obvious. Remember the machine that caught the surge? It happened in the first 30 seconds. That's what we're doing next. What happens in your brain in the last 30 seconds? I'll see you on the next page.